Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to cheer on the console wars.
That's right. Give it to us. We want more exclusives. We want more online arguments, big Reddit threads, and of course, more rage-fueled YouTube views. Hey, if Microsoft and Sony can cash in on your hyper investment, we can too.
That's right. That's what everybody does, it turns out. New year, new console wars. So we're going to take a look at what 2023 has in store for Microsoft, Sony, and of course, your ever-stretched wallet. Just to entice you, yeah, Sony might be winning right now, but there's a huge shift in sales momentum that actually could change everything in 2023. That's not clickbait. It really could change.
Between sales estimates, movie projects, and a stacked new year of releases, there's just so much to consider when it comes to picking which megacorp to swear your everlasting allegiance to. That's why we need Yami to simplify it all for us. Hit us with some numbers, Yami.
12.
Okay, that sounds exotic. 12.
I'm just kidding. We all know 12 isn't a real number. A little number humor for you.
Yeah, always get me with the number humor.
Here's a real number for you, though. 30 million.
Oh, yes, I have heard that 30 million before. Yes, that's right.
That's the total number of PlayStation 5s that Sony has sold so far, as announced by Sony on Twitter. This milestone follows the biggest month ever for PS5 console sales. That's really impressive for the PS5's first 2 years. And just to add some context, the PS5 is currently outselling the PlayStation 2, which sold less than 29 million over the same time frame since launch. Now, the PlayStation 2 went on to become the best-selling console of all time at 158 million units sold. So that's a really good company to be in. It also shows that despite all the supply issues, Sony has finally managed to ramp up operations and move a lot of PS5s.
Okay, sure, but winning is only fun if someone loses. So how does that compare with the Xbox Series X and S?
Well, we don't have exact numbers because Microsoft stopped releasing console sales data long ago, back in the early days of the Xbox One. So we're gonna have to make some educated guesses. Or rather, someone else's. VG Charts estimated in December that lifetime sales of the X and S were just over 20 million units. They also estimate the PS5 outsold the Series XS by more than 2 million units last year.
Wow, geez. Okay, so 2 years into the 9th console generation, and Xbox is at 20 million, and the PS5 is at 30 million. 10 million consoles is a actually pretty substantial gap between the two. There's no avoiding that, but when it comes down to home console sales, Sony is the clear winner yet again.
But I need to lean into this one for dramatic effect. But there's some real interesting sales trends that show Xbox is gaining significant ground here. PlayStation 5 console sales didn't grow very much from 2021 to 2022, from 11.3 million to 11.9 million, or just about 5%. Now, it'd be tempting to pin this on supply constraints, because that's what's been affecting them since the console launched, but Sony themselves said their supply constraints, quote, significantly eased, and that they actually beat their production estimates back in November 2022.
Meanwhile, Xbox sales have been growing at an incredible rate, from 6.9 million in 2021 to 9.4 million in 2022. That's huge. While the PS5 outsold the Xbox both years, Xbox console sales grew a massive 36% from 2021 to 2022. So if both companies have the same growth rate in 2023, they'd actually end up more or less tied.
That would be weird if Microsoft managed to sell as many consoles as Sony, even a tie. Yeah. It's like the US tying anyone in soccer. But yeah, the wind at Microsoft's back here could be related to bigger economic factors. Carol Severin, the entertainment, media, and tech analyst at Media Research, told GamesIndustry.biz that the current gloomy economy plays well with Xbox's focus on value, presumably a reference to Game Pass and the less expensive Series S console.
Yeah, that thing's going for like $250 now on Amazon. It's not even $300 anymore. Carol also said that Xbox's cross-platform and hardware-agnostic efforts will sit well with consumers who might be strapped for cash, and there's a lot of those people in 2023. He said that the, quote, combination of these dynamics mean Xbox is better positioned to thrive in a recessionary environment than PlayStation.
Yeah, to help prove that point, kind of even to test the theory, Sony defied precedent and actually raised price of the PlayStation 5 console in several major world territories, on top of reorganizing their PlayStation Plus subscription service into tiers, rather than the potentially less expensive a la carte services they were offering before.
Sony offers boutique experiences that are harder to justify if money is tight. In comparison, Microsoft offers cheaper hardware and immediate access to new releases with a flat monthly fee that can be easier to budget around. Until now, the market has demonstrated a preference for the more expensive, flashier experience offered by Sony's hardware and software. But that seems to be changing now that game players have a little less money to throw around on $70 exclusives. That said, it won't be long before Microsoft has a few flashy exclusives of their own.
Yeah, I mean, how is that going? Yeah, even though Microsoft's been acquiring studios left and right, they haven't really shown us any games. It really pulls the money out of people's wallets. Obviously, we got a few coming up this year, but
I guess it was supposed to be Halo. What was it supposed to be? I don't know.
I'm just waiting on Starfield. That's it.
Yeah. It's finally maybe almost about to pay off with Starfield from Bethesda Softworks. It's supposed to come out in the first half of 2023. First big open world game, new IP from Bethesda. That's glittery. That's a big deal. Aside from that, Microsoft has Redfall from Arcane, Forza Motorsport, technically 8, but the number's not on that one, Minecraft Legends, and Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. Those are all the 2023 announcements we know about so far.
Well, it is all about Game Pass, though. Microsoft's been out there securing upcoming releases to be included in that service. So some of 2023's early Game Pass gets include Atomic Heart and Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I know people have been raving about Atomic Heart, so I'm really excited to try that. Individually, these games probably won't move the needle. But again, the whole idea behind Game Pass is you get a few of these every month for the flat cost.
Meanwhile, Sony's first-party lineup for 2023 is headlined by, good God, this title, Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
You nailed it. Nice.
The first game sold 33 million units as of May 2022 before it came out on PC, so the sales potential of this sequel is astronomical. The other announced project from Sony in 2023 is fittingly very expensive. The $549 PlayStation VR 2 is launching in February. Oh, for my birthday. You guys want to get it for me? Along with the VR 2 exclusive Horizon Call of the Mountain. Apart from that, Sony's cut a few checks to buy windows of PlayStation exclusivity for the upcoming Square Enix titles, Forspoken and Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, right now, 2023 looks like Xbox will have the gaming volume and variety, and of course value, while Sony has either cultivated or bought huge system exclusives from the biggest gaming brands. Ironically, Sony did this while arguing how unfair it is that Microsoft is trying to do it.
It is that time in the episode where we reference Microsoft's stalled acquisition of Activision Blizzard. The thing that was supposed to go through, I guess it's still supposed to go through in a few months, but we'll see about that.
See.
Yeah, even though the FTC recently sued Microsoft to prevent the acquisition, it's still possible the deal could finalize in 2023, as originally predicted by Activision Blizzard president Bobby Kotick, our favorite, in November. Sony has loudly protested the deal. By the way, he's not our favorite. That's a joke.
He's just always right. Good old Bobby.
Sony has obviously loudly protested the deal the whole way, arguing that Microsoft's ownership of that many franchises would constitute a monopoly.
Yeah, we don't know about a monopoly, but if the deal does go through, then suddenly Microsoft would have the ability, at least, to make some of gaming's biggest franchises console exclusive over the next few years. Just for example, Diablo 4 from Blizzard Entertainment's theoretically launching this year. Diablo 3 is one of the best-selling games of all time, in the top 10, I'm pretty sure, so having a game like that as suddenly a platform exclusive, that would just massively shift the value perception of Xbox versus PlayStation.
And while Microsoft is busy trying to gobble up one of the industry's biggest developers and publishers, Sony is aligning their media production to bolster their games business.
The Last of Us series is releasing soon on HBO and its streaming platform HBO Max. It's a big budget Hollywood production, and it's possible that it could give the PlayStation exclusive series a new life, similar to what Edge Runners did for Cyberpunk 2077. After Edge Runners was well received on Netflix in 2022, Cyberpunk saw its player count jump to 1 million players on a daily basis. That's impressive, considering all the backlash that Cyberpunk got when it released a few years ago. And it shows that a new media property can boost the traffic of its source material.
Yeah, and Sony's definitely ready to capitalize on any surge in interest. They did launch The Last of Us Part 1 remake for PS5 back in September. Anyone encouraged to play or replay the game after watching the series will have a bright, shiny, $70 new game just waiting for them.
Well, hold on. You can't say new game there.
Newly remade, hey.
Sony's also releasing a Gran Turismo movie directed by Neil Blomkamp later this year. In case you forgot about that, I mean, I've been reading releases about it recently, but I'm excited about that, sort of. Accordingly, Gran Turismo 7 will get a free VR update when PSVR 2 launches in February. How's that for synergy?
We should hear more about Microsoft's 2023 plans soon. They're reportedly going to have an intimate Xbox showcase later this month, where we'll see deep dives into upcoming exclusives like Redfall, Minecraft Legends, and Forza Motorsport. I have to say it with an accent every time, by the way, the Forza. That's according to Windows Central's Jez Corden, who says that there will also be content from ZeniMax Online Studios. Reportedly, though, the much anticipated exclusive Starfield might skip the show for a bigger one later on. While reading that, my heart stopped. The showcase, called Xbox Developer Direct, is set to air on January 25th.
Oh, this could be it. Microsoft's finally flexing all their exclusive muscle and sending the signal that finally, yes, for real, Game Pass is a great deal, but also it has all these shiny first-party exclusive games that make you feel very proud about paying that $15 a month. I don't know. I mean, that was always the biggest knock against the Xbox One, that it just didn't have exclusive games or anything really worth buying into that ecosystem. Microsoft's clearly burning and just paying lots and lots of money to prevent that from happening again.
That perceived lack of games reflected in the sales, too. The PS4 was a massive success, selling more than 117 million units as of last year. Microsoft admitted that the Xbox One sold less than half that amount.
Yeah, less than half. So in comparison right now, the Xbox Series X and S is doing much better than it was last generation, selling 20 million units at this point compared to the PS5's 30 million. You know, it's behind, but it's not half. It's like 2/3. So that's better.
Like we said, it's gaining ground fast. It'll be interesting to see what wins in the end. Sony's pricier dedication to sophisticated tech and big budget blockbusters, or Microsoft's focus on variety and value.
We don't need to wait to know that the real winner here is actually Nintendo, though. That's right. The Switch is currently sitting on lifetime sales of more than 118 million consoles. It's obviously not fair at this point to compare with the PS5 and the Series X because the Switch has been around since 2017, but I'm still gonna do it anyway. The Switch is now in rarefied air as one of the best-selling consoles ever. It's now surpassed the PlayStation 4 and is behind only the PS2, which sold 158 million, and the Nintendo DS, which sold 154 million.
Yeah, and there's also the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. Those sold just over 118 million in their lifetimes, but you know, it's a safe bet that the Switch will surpass that pretty soon.
Sony also isn't the only one expanding the media footprint of their game franchises either. I bet we all know and love it because it's coming up soon. Nintendo's launching the Super Mario Brothers movie starring Chris Pratt. Woo! And then, of course, Super Nintendo World and Universal Studios Hollywood, I think, is launching in February. I'm really excited to try that out.
Yes.
Gonna have a long line. Oh my gosh, all the influencers. I can't wait for people. Like, I want to see people knocking themselves unconscious on question mark blocks for like. That's what I want. It's America, man. You can do that stuff in Japan, but not here. People are gonna be drop kicking stuff and pulling things off the wall. It's gonna be a madhouse. But I mean, in terms of Nintendo, I mean, they're gonna have the repair bills for Super Nintendo World, so that's a lot. But they're gonna cover that theoretically with Zelda sales. They got Tears of the Kingdom coming this year. So Breath of the Wild, like, to me, always Zelda was one of those games where like it's good, so obviously it doesn't sell. But Breath of the Wild sold. That sold just shy of 30 million units on the Switch. And now that the Switch install base is over 100 million, it's likely Tears of the Kingdom will probably outsell every game we've talked about in this episode. Maybe not Spider-Man 2. But, you know, that's just fun food for thought in terms of scale. But, yeah, that's not where the fun is. Get Nintendo out of here. Even Sony, or even the FTC tried to argue Nintendo's not actually competition. So, what do y'all think? Do you think an economic recession will lead to Microsoft taking the lead in console sales?
So now that I'm not like in the games journalism world, I am paying $70 for video games, and it's kind of like I'm finally like, yeah, this is awful. I'm like, oh, this is really bad. Why does anyone do this for every release? No, I think that the best thing ever, and I continuously say this, I write hard for freaking Game Pass. I think that it is awesome. The value is incredible. You're saving on the $70 on a ton of these games. Like, yeah, like I fully believe that Xbox is ahead. Already, in my mind, at least.
I agree with Yami here. The $70 that I've been spending on a couple of games recently has just hurt. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just an extra $10 from 60 to 70.
I know.
But it sounds like so much more. Every time I put down $70, it sounds like a lot more than 60. I don't know why. But also, Microsoft has just timed this whole launch, the acquisition, and the push on Games Pass and Starfield perfectly, because 2023 is probably going to be a year of recession for the globe. And that's the perfect time to say, I can only spend $10 a month on, 150 games or whatever it is, versus dropping $70 on Spider-Man 2 or something like that. So I think Microsoft has positioned themselves almost perfectly to actually maybe take over the lead just a little bit here from Sony.
I did a little reading about it. I didn't really find anything conclusive, but Gaming in general was pretty recession-proof back in 2008. Gaming is quite a bit different now. There's more free options. Like, there's ways to maintain your level of investment in gaming without spending money. I think there's also a lot more discretionary spending people do in gaming. So, like, I think if somebody's going to reel in their costs with gaming, they'll probably like cut one battle pass or something like that. I still think Sony's in a weird spot where people will buy Sony stuff and buy Sony games before they'll stop buying other probably more important things. So I think people will find the room in their budgets for Sony's hardware and Sony's first party games. And then other things will probably fall by the wayside. But yeah, I don't know. I think Sony's just got a hold on people. There's a lot of people who are just bought into that ecosystem, and I think they're going to be there for a long time.
I totally agree with you, but also back in 2008, there was no Game Pass. So I wonder if they actually have changed the market. I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's a really good question. Yeah. The value propositions are way different now.
These patrons are so rich, they actually wear PlayStation 5s as shoes. That's why they support us, because they bought 1,000 PS5s and they wear them as shoes. Loveless, Pitstrip, Aiden Foley, and Joshua Smith.
Sure, my patrons laugh at that. They are so rich they eat a PS5 for dinner every night, medium rare. Nick Calderone, Scotty Ryan, Ray Pichardo, and Raolo. Delicious.